So Adarsh, just to start our conversation today, I think I would like to start from the very basics. I think many people here in the audience may be here just to know what retirement communities are all about, right? What is the main reason behind being there, and why are they so? How can they add value? So if you could just talk about that to start with.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you for having me here. Hi, everyone. Wishing you a advanced Diwali. I hope you have a great time. The first thing when we say senior living or retirement communities, unfortunately in India, what comes to mind is two, three things. A old place that is run down, filled with people whose children don't get along with them. Parents and children don't get along. Run down place. They don't have good relationship with their children. That is unfortunately our mind is conditioned to think like that in India. And the only way that we can change is to show our communities, like some of the communities that you mentioned earlier. I think once you come there, people will realize that it's more like a resort with medical care, where people can, get together and just have a good time. So if I have to define what is retirement community, I would say it is somewhere between a hotel, a resort, and a nursing home. So somewhere in it's an intersection of the three of this, where you pick the best things from it. Like what are the good things about a resort? You feel like you're on a holiday. Everything gets done. The room is cleaned by somebody. Food is prepared by somebody else. You go down to the restaurant. There are activities that go on throughout the day. You get to hang out with people, have a good time, play games. What comes to your mind when I say hotel? Good hospitality, right? Somebody who comes and cleans your room, somebody who takes care of long-term maintenance. Then when I say care or nursing home, somebody who is able to proactively manage your health. Because it's very easy to just have a doctor or a nurse who's on the campus, but it's a lot more challenging to actively manage health. So, for example, for us at Primus, we are not waiting for something to go wrong before our medical team takes course, right? What happens in a traditional house? Let's say that somebody unfortunately needs a knee replacement surgery. What we all do, so what I was just mentioning about proactive medical care, I'm just giving an example, right? What happens in our houses, if we have a bad knee and we need a knee replacement surgery, what we tend to do is we go to the most expensive hospital and get the best knee and spend lakhs of rupees and feel very happy that I'm able to afford this surgery. But what we are not asking ourselves is, hey, why did my knee go bad? How come nobody told me that my knee is going bad? So that is what like Primus does or a retirement community does, because when a person moves into our community, we're doing a geriatric assessment profile. We know the strength of muscle in every main joint. Our physiotherapist is able to stop the need to ever have a knee replacement surgery. We have had cases where people even came on a wheelchair, they're walking today. We have had cases where we keep away these joint pains simply by physiotherapy. Same way, by having a proactive medical care management, you are able to tell things much ahead of time. So that's what you would do on a care component. But more than anything, it's just what we are solving is convenience, right? Today, unfortunately, especially because of COVID, uh, everybody's telling older people, don't go out of your house. No, no, we love you. Stay at home. Don't go out. Don't go buy groceries. Don't go buy medicines. But human beings are social creatures. We love to meet fellow human beings. It's as much as our children and our relatives love us. You cannot say, stay at home and be cooped up. So one of the things that a retirement community does is it creates a bio bubble. This bio bubble word has been made famous by IPL. Essentially, it's a safe space where, for example, in our own communities, all our staff live inside the community so that nobody comes in from outside on a regular basis. So what it does is it allows people to interact with each other in a safe atmosphere. So they come down to the restaurant 3 to 4 times a day. The activity center is bustling, and people get to have a normal life, right? Because end of the day, research has proved that loneliness and falls are the uh, are two biggest reasons for death in aging. So if you see, unfortunately in India, we ignore the process of aging. Our idea of showing love and affection is to give more help to our parents, or for elders is to buy more help. We'll say, hey, we're not able to go to the bathroom on our own. Let me hire a nurse. Let me hire two nurses because I'm a rich person. But the nurse is not going to be able to have a meaningful conversation to stimulate the mind or to stimulate the body that reduces the process of aging. And that's what a community does. Because you're going down, you're sitting and debating, okay, hey, what happened to the presidential elections in the US? What happened in Bihar? Hey, why is Arnab in jail? So it just keeps your mind active because you're debating on stuff, and you're able to, since you will see 10, 15 people or a lot of people following their passion, it motivates each person to follow stuff that they could never do because they were busy bringing up their children or busy in their, their work and so on. So in a nutshell, that's what a retirement community is. It reduces the process of aging.
Thank you. So how old is the concept of retirement communities in India? You have traveled across the globe, and how entrenched is this concept in India?
So Nidhi, just to give you a perspective about globally what senior elder care is, if you see a country like US, about 6% of everybody above the age of 60 stay in a formal retirement home. So it's very common for them to shift 2 to 3 or 5 houses in their lifetime. And as they age, they find it more, they want to buy convenience rather than manage the house. So they would move into a retirement community. So almost 6% of every elder moves into in US. If it is Europe, it's about 4%. In Australia, also it's about 4%. Of course, in India, the number is ridiculously small because the market is just opening up. People are understanding right now what a retirement community is, what senior living is. So from an Indian perspective, I think some of the early players like Kernel have been around since the early 2000s. But as a concept, I think that it's been really taking off for the last 3 to 4 years. Whereas more and more people start to live in these communities, they're able to appreciate how there is convenience, how there is safety, how there is, social entertainment, so to speak. So from an India perspective, there have been a lot of data stuff done by JLL and these research agencies. They say that India has about 1.2 crore elders. They say 40 lakh people live in urban cities. So they assume that there is a formal demand for about 40 to 50,000 senior living homes. So for me, all the statistics doesn't matter. I think what really matters is if a company can come forward who has the right intention for care and convenience, and who's able to be with their customers till the end of life. So when I say that, I mean a company who's able to be in active senior living, who's able to be in assisted living and advanced assisted living. I think those are the companies and those are the individuals who are going to be sustainable in this business. It is not a real estate business. It is not something where you have a bathroom and you put in some grab bar and say, hey, this is senior living. It's absolutely nothing to do with real estate. And what I urge each and one of you, please do not look at the price, because 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs is not the decision making factor to choose your happiness, right? People have worked hard, you've struggled all your life. I think the key thing is to see how the community is, what the operator does, who the operator is, do they have a track record? That is what is important. I don't think whether you have a fancy bathroom or you have a restaurant that looks a certain way or the price is, low should be the reasons to, choose a community.
Right. No, in fact, I would ask you a question around that in a bit about what should be, if you were to talk about top five factors. But you just raised a very important point about aging in place kind of a thing, right? So as an individual ages, right, the physical requirements also change. So are the retirement communities equipped to handle those changes? Do they have the aging in place concepts there?
So, see, you have to understand, Nidhi, that in India, the entire ecosystem is evolving. In the US, for me to go and pick up a nurse who is trained to give care in assisted care or in hospice to elders is very easy. In India, even that manpower is not available. So, a lot of companies like us are evolving these concepts to be able to give much better care, be it dementia, be it Parkinson's, be it stroke, other ortho neuro conditions. Basic assisted care, many of us already provide. But it is important that the same company is providing this ecosystem, because today there is husband and wife, tomorrow one person may not be there. After a few more years, one person may develop an advanced medical condition. So when somebody is 95 or 98, it will be very hard to say, hey, too bad, you developed this medical condition, but we cannot take care of you. Please, go back. So those are the kind of things that people need to think through, rather than something very immediate to say what's the price or what's the specification or what's the location. And people who understand that aging has different aspects to it. There are going to be different physical needs, there are going to be different emotional needs and different care needs. A person who's 70 is just like you or me, right? They just want to have a chilled out life. just have convenience. Somebody who's 80, 85, who may need some help, maybe going to the restroom, maybe taking a shower. Their needs are different from a physical and emotional point of view. And somebody who may be bedridden, the care is more psychological than medical, because medically they'll be fine, but they are bedridden, so you have to treat the mind. So it's a very hardcore care business.
So have you seen, in your last few years that you have been around in the senior care space now, have you seen any evolution in terms of this? Has there been a shift in mindset and acceptance of retirement communities?
100%. So see, ultimately convenience rules all, right? I think maybe 25, 30 years back, if somebody said only love marriage, I think people would, for the generation that is watching this, a love marriage was a crime, right? They couldn't say, I'll marry who I want, I leave who I want, I'll have a kid with a person that I'm not married to, I'll marry a person of the same sex. I think those were not even, a point of debate. They would be deemed to be crazy. But we are here today where probably love marriage is the norm. And we are here in a time where two guys can get married, two girls can get married. I think society is not judging them. So I think, like I said, convenience is going to rule everything, and the heart is going to rule the mind at some point in time. So people are going to want this because nobody can manage a house today, right? How many people can deal with their maids and their cooks throwing tantrums? They don't come on the day that you need them. They'll ask you a loan. They'll not give you back your money. They'll steal stuff from you. It's not easy to manage a house. And when the husband and wife in India, unfortunately, only the husband retires. When exactly is the wife retiring? Is it expected that the wife is supposed to cook for the husband rest of her life? So these are this model is evolving. The needs of people are evolving, and we are just catering to the changing mindset of India.
Now, share something with us. During the pandemic stage, in fact, you and us, we worked together in the initial stages of the pandemic when there was lockdown, and we were offering volunteering services for seniors, helping them out, source groceries and essential supplies. How was life at Primus Reflection, your community?
So one of the first things that we did was all our staff who used to come from outside, be it housekeeping, be it medical, be it the concierge desk, or our landscape and security, we created quarters for them within the community, and we moved all of them in, and we just locked the gate so that nobody gets in, nobody gets out. So that for us was extremely important from a safety point of view, because elders are more susceptible to this virus, and we cannot have people isolate themselves in the room and assume that everything is going to be fine. So the minute we did that, for us, from that day onwards, everything was normal, so long as nobody got in from outside or our residents didn't leave out, everything was fine. So this pandemic has actually been the largest accelerator for the need for communities like for ours, wherein right now in individual houses, people are expected to just stay inside the house and do nothing, right? They're expected to order online, interact with the computer, and be on a Zoom call throughout the day. People are going to go mad. It's not sustainable. So that people are appreciating communities where they are going down, having face-to-face interaction. Diwali is celebrated now. Rajotsava was celebrated a week back. There's a birthday party going on every day. Life is normal inside our community or in many of the retirement communities. So now we have evolved. For example, if somebody steps out, there is a protocol in which they can come back into the common areas. There's a few days that they have to isolate themselves. We do once a month, we test all our staff. We test all the residents also. So it just gives that additional comfort. And for the common area access, you need to be inside the community, or if you go out, you have to isolate yourself for a number of days. So this is how we have been managed, and God has been kind. We have not had any issue so far. And of course, the many hygiene factors are there: cleaning the common areas, knobs, lifts, entrance of the security, temperature check, SpO2 level check. We do these kind of things every day. But the fact that we have a doctor on campus, it just gives that much more comfort that we are able to attend to things much ahead of time. So COVID has actually been a big realization for a lot of elders that it is very safe to be part of a community rather than to isolate at home, where probably they have children who go out every day. Probably they have maids and cooks who come from, slums, or they may come from very crowded areas, who pose a much larger threat to their safety.
Right. But I'm sure there might be some people in the audience today who might be thinking that pandemic is not going to be here forever, right? At some stage, it is likely to get resolved, right? So should I really take that plunge? And why should I take that plunge, right? What would you what would be your response to that?
No, it's an excellent question. Pandemic or no pandemic, fundamentally, humans are social creatures. Fundamentally, people want convenience. Most elders in this generation have worked hard purely to educate their kids, sacrificed everything, gave up their own personal needs and interests to for the larger good of their family. Now is the time that they need to spend for themselves, because in all likeliness, the children are self-sufficient. They are quite comfortable in their own jobs, and they would probably want to see their parents happy. So happiness has no price, right? So I think that is what we are really selling, is convenience and happiness. So no pandemic or pandemic, every person, whether it's Bill Gates, Mukesh Ambani, or the person who comes to collect our garbage, everybody is chasing only happiness and satisfaction end of the day. Somebody may get happiness from money, somebody may get happiness from a hobby, somebody else may get happiness from some other activity. But the bottom line is we all do things that make us happy.
I will come back to that question that I wanted to ask you earlier, right? So, what would be your recommendation if anybody wants to really consider the option of moving into a retirement community? What are the top 5 things that one should look at while they are making this decision?
So by far the most important thing, I think, is the track record of the operator, because it's not a real estate game. It's not the price of the apartment. I think that is not even something that you should ask, or, it should not even be a consideration point, because a Jaguar fitting or a bathroom tile is not going to give any happiness. So it is the quality of the operator, number one. The number two is quality and track record of the operator. I will put it as top of the list. The second thing is the larger community. Okay, who are going to be my neighbors? Who are going to be my friends? What are the kind of people that are living in this community? Who are my fellow residents in the future? These are going to be my friends. I'm going to be spending a lot of time with them. So I think I would delve into that as the second aspect. And of course, the third aspect is the general level of satisfaction of the customers in the community. So it would be a good idea to just go check up, okay, hey, are people happy here? Are they satisfied with the service? Because I think a satisfied customer speaks a lot more than a colorful brochure. So I would say that that is there. And the next will be the quality of the facility. Hey, how is the kitchen? Is it clean? Does the infrastructure here look good? Is this a clubhouse that I would like to spend a lot of time in? Do the indoor games, is it attractive to me? Is the card room attractive to me? Do I see myself living here? So what is the standard of the healthcare facility? Do they have an ambulance? Do they have a doctor on campus? Do they have 24/7 nurses? Tomorrow, God forbid, I have a fall or I fall critically ill. Can I be moved to a hospital within 30 minutes? Can I get critical care on site? I think those are the larger and more important questions.
One of the questions which everybody has on their mind is, should I look in for a community which is exclusively only for seniors, or should it be more like an integrated township where you may have the youngsters in some of the blocks? And
because in about 60 days time, we are going to be in 2 projects which are part of the larger community, one at Kengeri and one at Sarjapur Road. So we have been signing up projects within larger townships. We are going to be coming out with a lot more projects wherein it's a retirement community within a large community, so that the children, the parents, the in-laws, all of the grandkids, they can all live together in one community. At the same time, each one gets their own space. We call it the new Indian joint family. I think that is the most sustainable way to live, given the diverse interests of various generations today.
I think the other practical question which some of them would have is buy versus rent. You know, whether I should purchase one or should I rent one, right? Because finance can be the make or break kind of deciding factor, right? So
Absolutely.
what would you share about that?
So, of course, the larger important question is where you're buying or renting. But if the choice comes back to buying or renting, it's a purely an individual financial goal. We have seen that a lot of people want to leave an asset behind for their children. We have seen that typically when they buy a retirement community, it's a second purchase. So they have an existing house, which is probably in the city. This is their second or third home, which they're buying. And they would typically want to, pass this on to their children as an asset. So if that is a need, we have seen that people buy. We have also seen a lot of children who want to buy it for their parents because they believe that tomorrow when they get older, they will come and stay here. And till such time they get older, the parents can stay there. So end of the day, it is like a real estate investment. The, the price of it appreciates. And the beauty of retirement communities is it's much more rentable than a regular apartment. If you buy a regular apartment, you are just competing with thousands of people and you're lowering the rent all the time. But if you buy a senior living apartment, because the number of apartments on rent is so low and the services that are given are not available in regular complexes, we ourselves are seeing a 30-40% rental premium. So even for an investor, it makes sense to buy a retirement home and then rent it out. That's what we have seen. But however, there are a few people who already have 2 or 3 houses. They have been trying to sell one house for the longest time. They have not been able to sell it. They want the convenience. So what they do is they first rent and they look to buy after they have sold their old house, or they may be comfortable renting also. It's purely an individual decision. I don't think I have a particular opinion on what needs to be done, but they should be very careful of which is the place they're going to in terms of the operator and the service, irrespective of buying or renting.
Okay, thank you. So if we may now talk about Primus Reflection, which is your project, right? If one were to visit Primus Reflection, what would they find there?
So obviously, I have been talking about what are retirement communities. You would find all of the things that I have been telling, right? You will find a lot of wonderful people. That's what I can assure you. We have over 130 people there, all of diverse backgrounds, highly educated, very successful in their lives, and who are taking it easy now. And hopefully, I don't want to say that we give good service. Please come talk to our residents and find out if we give good service. That's what I would like to say. So whatever I have told, of course, we follow all of those things. Very good common infrastructure, great customized service is what we believe that we are good at, and we'll take care of the health very well. We are on Kanakpura Road. We are opposite to the Art of Living Ashram. If people are familiar with Art of Living, we are just about 300 meters on the main road itself. We have about 165 units. So already 130 people are living in these units. We have been operating it for the last 3 years or so. And you have to buy these units. We don't rent them out. So typically the price is around 65 to 75 lakhs. And like I told you, what we promise is great service, great company, great food, and great medical care. Of course, we have all the hygiene factors like good restaurant, medical center, swimming pool, indoor games, library, multi-purpose hall, concierge desk. I believe that these are hygiene factors. So we have all of that. And we have great people more than anything else.
How about accessibility to, say, facilities like hospitals or malls, shopping centers? How about that?
So the metro station has now come up to Anjanapura, which is the nice road. Already it's operating. In the next 2 months, it's going to be operational. The next phase of it is coming till the ashram. So I think that gives a great connectivity to the overall city. And for people in South Bangalore, they're used to Kanakpura Road. It's quite convenient to access all the South Bangalore locations of Jayanagar, JP Nagar, Bannerghatta Road, Hosur Road, and all of those areas. In terms of social infrastructure, we have a hospital within Brigade Meadows, which is right opposite to us, St. John's, which is like a 2-minute drive. And you have all the ones on Bannerghatta Road, and we have a few medical center on Kanakpura Road. But inside our own community, we have a 4-bed medical center with a full team of doctor and nurses.
Can you share
and
any
also, I want to clarify one other thing. One of the myths about senior living I have heard from a lot of people, it's very expensive. So I would love to, put that to rest here. All of you at the end of this call, I request you, please take a piece of paper and write down both your direct cost and more importantly, your indirect cost. Because in India, we are all champions of direct cost. I pay my maid 4,000 rupees. I pay my driver so much. My electricity bill is 1,000 rupees. My water bill is 200 rupees. We are very good at that. But we are not very good in calculating the indirect cost of a traditional house. I pre-paint my house once in 5 years. I change my solar. My geysers get broken. 101 things happen in a house, right? And your maid will come and ask for a loan that he or she may not return back. So there are things like that which needs to be added in terms of, okay, you go out to buy groceries, You have to pay insurance for the car. Somewhere that you have to pay parking. Car may get damaged. There are various indirect costs. So for us in our community, for 8,000 rupees a month for two people, we are able to give entire medical service, concierge services, so that people don't need to step out for anything. Housekeeping, which includes long-term and short-term maintenance and inside the house, and activities and events, which is the community activities where people get together and celebrate. Just that, and all the common area maintenance, security, swimming pool, DGE, all of the common area cleaning and maintenance is included in that. On top of that, for another 7,000 rupees per person per month, we are able to give food also. And our food is like, we have 3 full meals and we have 3 half meals, right from early morning tea, coffee to late night milk or juice. Of course, we have high tea and we have snacks midday, other than the 3 full meals. So for less than 25,000 rupees per month for two people, everything is taken care, literally everything. So I think if you calculate your own cost inside a typical house, it is quite likely that it's going to be equal to or larger than this. And tomorrow, costs are only going to go up. Maids are going to hike their salaries. They're going to be more unreasonable, and they're not going to be regular. Whereas we have a team in-house. So if one maid is not there, somebody will come and clean your house. Somebody will cook the food. It's not your problem. So over a period of time, we will be much cheaper than living in a typical house.
No, I think these are very important points to bear in mind, and why one should really look at a retirement community too, right? Now, Adarsh, there was one point which you had made while highlighting what are the top 5 things one should look at while choosing a retirement community. And one of the things which you had mentioned was the company that you will keep, right? Would you like to talk about the residents at Primus Reflection? What have been, what has
Absolutely.
been, why they have moved in, how do they spend their day? What does the typical day look like?
Right. So almost all of them have come and chosen Primus Reflection purely because they don't want the hassle of running their house. They are sick and tired of their cooks and their maids and all the other people that they had around them, and they want company to come and chill. So we have very successful business people. We have high-ranking officials from the IAS. We have people from the army. We have people. We have doctors. We have principals of very reputed schools. We have just about all sorts of people who have retired as MD and CEOs of public limited companies, of private companies, as vice presidents. So I think anybody would be able to find their core group there, because we have people of different languages, different backgrounds. We have people from different cities as well. So these are some of the people who are living with us. And Nidhi, you mentioned another question.
Yeah, I asked
I
you, what
just
does a typical day look like for a
Yeah,
Primus
okay.
Reflection resident?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. So of course, most people wake up quite early. So we have bedside tea at starting from 4:30 in the morning, depending on whatever time they want to have. They choose to either get it served in their house, or they come down to the restaurant and have the tea, coffee. From there, what would normally happen is people go for a walk around the campus, and then at 6 in the morning, we have our stretching exercises and yoga that physiotherapist does. So every day, extremely important is the stretching activity. So that is the first thing that people do. 6 o'clock is stretching activity. After that, they go to the temple on site. Many people pray there, or they may go back to their houses, get ready for breakfast. Typically from 7:30 to 9 o'clock is our breakfast timing. So people would have breakfast. And then by around 10:30, our first activity of the day will be there. So we put it up on the notice board. We do about 2 to 3 activities every day. So whoever wants to come down, they will come down, they'll participate in the activity. Many people do consulting after the retirement because they have all retired from high positions. So they would do work from home or consulting from home for those 2 3 hours. We also have conference facility in the ground floor. They would use that facility as well. Then lunch is from 12 to 1:30 or 12:30 to 2 o'clock, I think. So and we have a snack at 11 o'clock. So again, tea, coffee, and snacks is there at 11 in the morning. People come down, just sit around, have a cup of coffee, chill. And lunch is again served. We have healthy, nutritious lunch. Every meal we give both North Indian and South Indian. So a typical lunch would be, 2 vegetables. You would have rice, rasam, sambar. You would have chapati with a palya, and you would have one dessert, and you would have salad. Early morning we do fresh juice, and in the evenings, of course, you would have soup. You would have roti paratha plus rice again. 4 o'clock in
Sorry,
the
while we are on the
afternoon.
while we are on the food, I spotted one question. Somebody asked, "Is there non-veg food?"
So unfortunately, in the restaurant, we don't serve non-veg. Ours is a vegetarian community. But what we do is we deliver food to the individual house. So there is a kitchen in the house. If somebody is very particular about having non-vegetarian, we have various tie-ups with different vendors that can be supplied on a regular basis, or they can use Zomato, Swiggy, and get it from Nagarjuna or whichever is their favorite joint to get the food. So lunch, of course, is a full-fledged meal. Then in the afternoon, typically people take rest. So at 4 o'clock, we have high tea, followed by again activities. So you'd have bhajans, you would have minute-to-minute games, you would have antakshari, you would have housey, rummy, whatever bridge tournament. We have many, many, many activities. And then in the evening, we have dinner followed by movie night. If IPL is going on, people come to the large screen, they watch together. Or 2 3 days in a week, there is some movie that the committee picks. There is an entertainment committee, they pick what movie to play, what TV show to play, and that goes on in the mini theater. And that is typically it. Normally people go for a walk late in the evening after dinner as well, and the people go to bed. So this is kind of a typical day. There's a lot of interaction with fellow residents throughout the day.
Yeah, sounds very active and very very well planned day. But how about someone who? So you mentioned that in the morning the stretching activity is very important, and typically people would wake up at 6. Uh, are these optional activities, or is one expected to really be a part of everything?
We don't run a hostel, Nidhi. Everything is optional. If
So
people
I
feel
had to
happy
ask
doing
because
something,
it
they
looked
will
like a
come and do
packed
it.
day.
It is the idea of giving a packed day is not that one person participates in everything. They participate in the activities they like. Normally, they will come only for one or two activities, whatever they like. See, if there's a minute-to-minute games, many people may not like it, but some people would love to go and participate. So it's an individual choice. See, because even if they have work to do in the city, they are getting it done through our concierge desk. Go bring my rent, go pay my property tax, book this ticket, get my laptop repaired. We do everything. Our concierge desk just takes care of everything. There's no need for them to go and deal with Bangalore city and its crazy traffic.
Others, the other thing, I think one of the important thing which everybody has on their mind is about healthcare, right? Have you had any instances of medical emergencies arising? If yes, how were they handled? Could you share one example with us?
Right. So obviously, being an elder care community, there will be medical emergencies, right? So we also have a wireless device which we give to all our residents. They could just hit that, and there is a method in which within a few seconds somebody would come and visit. It also sends out an SMS to the near and dear ones, the family. It's like a tiny speakerphone. Irrespective of that, because everybody knows everybody, they know whom to call in the community. You would have one of the other people call, our manager or our operating team, somebody from the medical center. So the first thing we do, obviously, is our resident doctor will go and study the case. If somebody fell down, right, they may not need any kind of a hospitalization. But if somebody, and after a certain age, there are no surprises, because we know who are the high risk cases. Sorry, we have already mapped own database. We have mapped who are the high risk cases and what is the risk for that person. So our doctor is always watching out for the signs of that risk. So God forbid something were to happen, we have an ambulance on site. We have tie-ups with all the hospitals nearby where a Primus residents will just get entry without any questions, and they'll start the treatment immediately, because we give the guarantee for that bill. So it's much easier to handle. We have emergency equipment on campus. So our doctor would be in the ambulance. If a defibrillator is there, if something needs some kind of a early delay of that condition needs to be done, we are doing it. So, I'm happy to note that till date, although we've been operating senior living for the last 5 years, we have had only one death on our campus.
In fact, there is a related question in the chat box. I will take it up given that it's on point. Mr. Ramesha is asking, how do you manage unfortunate situations like an aged person passing away without having anyone to do their last rites?
That's a very good question, and it's a very sensitive question. What has happened, unfortunately, in COVID is we do have a lot of people who have loving children, but they live in the US or they live in UK or Australia. They are not able to come down. And during the lockdown, we did have cases where people passed away. We have in fact done the last rites. My team has done it. I must really congratulate and appreciate my team, Ganesh, Chengappa, and the rest, Hemant, and the rest of my operating team. They have sat down, they have done the last rites. They have taken the ashes to the Sangam, to Kaveri River. They have immersed it. Then we have couriered the ashes to US or whichever country. We have hired a private plane to send a body to Mumbai. There are a lot of things that we have done way out of what is expected from us, because it's a commitment, it's a passion to what we're doing. If we are in the business of senior care, the decisions are not driven by profit and loss. The decisions are purely driven by the heart, and that's what me and my team believe in. So we will always do things from the heart.
Question from Chandrika asking, is there any way possible to move in for a few months till the COVID is over?
I mean, of course, Chandrika, you can move in on rent. So whether it's still COVID is over or not is an individual agreement with the owners. But yes, you can definitely move in. And I don't think anybody knows when COVID will be over.
So you did
Absolutely, yes.
mention, so the rentals are what? It is basically one can take it on rent from people who would have purchased it already. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so there are some people who have purchased it and they're not occupying it because they are youngsters, or they are not living in India at the moment. They have moved to US or whatever. So some few units are there like that, but those are very few.
Okay. You did address this question already in your talk, but if you could kind of probably reiterate it. Somebody had asked what will be the maintenance charges per month, if you could kind of cover that again.
Like I mentioned, it's 8,000 rupees for 4 or 5 key services. 8,000 rupees including the GST for medical, completely free consultations, free use of the medical center, nursing, physiotherapy. Then common area maintenance in terms of security, common area water, generator, cleaning of common areas. Third is housekeeping, which is inside the house cleaning, long-term and short-term maintenance. And fourth is concierge and events. So the use of the concierge desk, getting work done from them, and our activities team and the various activities they conduct. All of this happens at 8,000 rupees a month for 2 people or for a unit, depending on how many are occupied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vijaya had a question. She asked, in the larger community that you're coming up with at Sarjapur, will you extend the same facility as in a only seniors home?
Yes. So as Primus, we stand for a certain brand value and certain value in terms of what services we bring to the table. Irrespective of the location where we are, our service offering will always be the same. See, if you go to a hotel like Marriott or you go to Hilton, wherever it is in the world, there's a certain standard that they maintain. It's the same way. We bring a certain standard to the table, which will be across locations and geographies, wherever we are.
I had a question. At this cost of 60 lakhs, what is the size of the apartment? More specific data if it can be shared.
So typically the size of the apartment will be between 900 to 1300 square feet. There are 2-3 sizes, but yeah, around that size. But I would suggest to Mr. Mohan that we are looking for them to spend more time in the common areas. So our common areas are very large.
So, sir, yeah, there's a question around rental value. Would you want to take that?
So just the rental portion will be around 22 to 25,000, and then there is the services on top of it. So 25,000 plus another 8,000, say 32, 33,000
per month. Okay. Sandhya has a question asking, how about travel within the city? Will you have drivers we can hire?
So we used to have all this earlier. Now, because of COVID, we cannot verify if the driver is safe. So at the moment, it's not there. Uh, we can arrange a driver, but we don't really encourage that. But our concierge just can do it because we don't know if the driver is COVID safe.
Sandhya wants to know if you can offer a trial stay. Could there be a 1-week trial offer?
So we don't have any units available. And again, because of this COVID protocols, we don't want people to come from outside, stay for 7 days, move around, and put the rest of my residents to risk. I cannot afford that. This is one of the things that I hear most from all our residents is I should have come here 10 years earlier. Everyone without fail tells me that. Because end of the day, there's no age to socialize, there's no age for convenience. Even I don't mind when somebody else is getting all my work done, right? So that's why when we are going into these larger communities with regular apartments, we are giving our service to regular apartments because the residents asked for it. We didn't go and offer it first. So this is because this is one of the key things. Like many people feel that there's still time, I'm not old enough, but nobody is too young or nobody is too old for convenience.
There's another question which asks, is the maintenance charge and food charge, does it depend on if it is a single person or a couple?
So the food charge, yes, the maintenance charge is per unit. So it's 8,000 rupees irrespective of 1 or 2 or 3 people. Food will be per person basis around 6,500, I think, yeah, per person. Say 7,000 with GST.
Okay. Mr. Prahlad wants to know, are you planning a project in Bangalore North? You did mention
Yes,
something.
we will be, hopefully, God willing, we will have a project in Bangalore North. But all of these are going to take 2 to 3 years. The 2 projects that we are going to launch now are kind of almost complete. But the projects that are coming in the future are all at groundbreaking level. So it will take 2 to 3 years before we are operating it.
Okay. And there's a follow-up question to that where somebody wants to know, is it going to be independent homes or apartments in your projects in North Bangalore?
So we strongly believe in only doing apartments. I will tell you the reason for that. The minute people are in independent homes, they get isolated from each other. And it's a lot harder for them to come for their daily activities of either coming to the restaurant 3 times a day. It may be raining, it may be hot, it may be cold. It doesn't improve interaction socially as much as a apartment community would do. So we believe that we would like to stick to apartments.
Okay. In fact, there is a question now on age. Susie asked, what is the lower age limit to move in? And Mr. Yashpal wants to know, what is the largest age of seniors? Are they 70 or between 60 and 70?
So our youngest resident is 48 and our oldest resident is 96. So you choose which age group you want to hang out with. We have all of them.
Hera wants to know, can one cook his own food or is food compulsory to opt for?
No, food is optional. It's absolutely, people can cook their own food. There's a full-fledged kitchen. But we have a 98% subscription of food. So we are very proud to say that although they can cook their own food, they're choosing to come and eat in the restaurant.
Mr. Yashpal wants to know, can my relatives who are more than 60 stay with us and for how long?
Sir, it's your house. They can stay with you for however long. Your kids can come, your grandkids can come, your neighbor can come. Anybody can come and stay in the house. We cannot restrict that. If they use the common areas, if they use the facilities, they have to pay for that. If they're coming down to eat food, they have to pay for that food. That's the only thing. You're more than welcome to, have anybody in your house.
Perfect. Mr. Chandra Ramu wants to know, is there any place like a guest room for visiting children?
We have about 8 guest rooms in the common area where visiting family members can stay. I'll just clarify. We have a few units which we are specifically renting out only to maids so that you don't have to keep them inside your house or they don't need to leave the campus. So we do have such facilities already with us.
Is there a certain protocol that your staff follows to kind of check in on residents if they have not been around or they have not been seen in the common areas or something like that?
See, 3 times a day, we know they come down to the restaurant. So we know if they don't come for a meal, our staff is calling up and checking up, hey, why did you miss your meal?
Okay. Yeah, because
and housekeeping team goes every day. So housekeeping service happens at least once a day and tea coffee happens twice a day. So at any point in time, 3 times a day, my staff is interacting with our residents. And they come down to the common areas. They have their friends. Even their friends will ask, hey, where is this person today? So it's a triple or quadruple check